Welcome in, everybody. How's everybody doing out there? Automotive personnel, GMs, GSMs, BDC managers, fixed ops managers, and entire leadership management out there. Welcome to episode 3, Charlie, of the Mission Debrief with your friends here at Call Team 6, Special Ops for Car Dealers. We are a remote virtual BDC solution for both sales and service. All U.S.-based agents, the very best in AI technology that's out there serving our clients all across the country. And with me today, again, is Ken Kingstad. Welcome, Ken, our CEO for Call Team 6.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Welcome back. First of all, congratulations on the first 2 episodes, man, because we've gotten a ton of positive feedback and gaining viewers and followers all the time because we're finding out that we're actually addressing a lot of the day-to-day challenges that our dealer clients and other dealers out there are facing today, because it is a changing environment. It is an evolving environment, and consumers out there are really hungry for an advanced, more modern retailing experience, not only whenever they're purchasing a car, but when they're getting their car serviced, and then also whenever we're communicating with them once the sale is done and actually make them a family member with the dealership. And then with us also today, too, is our COO, joining us again, sadly this time, though, remotely. So we'd like to welcome in our COO from Call Team 6, Mr. Ryan Mace, coming to us all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina. Sir?
Hey, guys, how you doing? Thanks for letting me in, broadcasting from the secret bunker here in Charlotte.
Yes, Master Chief.
Master.
I'm looking forward to joining you in person the next one. As you know, the last 2 weeks I've been hitting the pavement, as they say. Multiple trips to Jersey, New York, Atlanta, of course around our local home area there, visiting. Lots of fun places, different companies, of course, our dealer partners, but excited to be able to join remotely. And again, next time we'll be there in person, but we're ready to rock and roll. Let's get episode number 3 off the ground.
Great news. And yes, thank you for all you're doing out there, because look, this is the way that we as automotive dealership veterans, part of why Call Team 6 exists is because we want to provide resources to dealers out there. We consult with a lot of dealers all the time, calling us and wanting recommendations on improving operations and all that. And this is part of how we do it. So it's very encouraging, and we come with that with a lot of optimism. And really support what you're doing, Ryan. Like you said, yesterday you were in Atlanta, talking with potential groups down there, and then before that you were up in New Jersey, and then at the same time, you and Rebecca and the leadership team there at Call Team 6 keeping everything going with all of our U.S.-based agents and the very best auto dialing software out there. We're really, congratulations on making a difference out there, and I'm glad that we're starting to spread the word with this podcast as well. So, that which leads us into our next initial topic, and it has to do with what we call, and we mentioned this on one of the previous episodes, is playing to your strengths. And I want to get into that right away, right after we mention, first of all, our excellent producer, Ben. How's it going, Ben? Appreciate your having us.
All right, Ben.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Woo,
good to see you guys.
Nice seeing you again.
I was really excited to get you guys back in the studio, and the boys are back.
The boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town,
Yeah.
So it's nice to see you guys. I'm really looking forward to this episode 3. So great.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely, we appreciate everything, and also our brilliant engineer, Daniel. Darn Daniel.
Yes.
Thanks for having us again. Yes, sir.
We love it.
Appreciate all your help.
Show.
Couldn't do without you.
So, we're coming to you from, again, from beautiful Meisner Park area of Boca Raton, South Florida. Ryan's in Charlotte, and today's episode is brought to you by a couple of great sponsors we have. First is Podcast Junkies. If you're interested in doing your own podcast out there, and you would like a really solid resource, and you're in in the southern part of the, or I guess it's remote anywhere, that they are great production specialists whenever it comes to getting the word out and putting together a really quality presentation. And also our sponsor today is Insight Live. Insight Live does a lot of event promotion and digital retailing boost. Ryan, you could probably take maybe 15, 20 seconds to share more about what Insight Live does and how much we appreciate their partnership and allowing us to bring this to air.
Yeah, guys. If you're out there and you're a dealer and you're looking for something that doesn't have long contracts but's modern, uses the latest technology with AI blend of traditional and digital, Insight Live's hosted events and their digital BDC boosters are definitely the way to go. On a tight budget, they got something for everybody. It couples in email with the top of the line email system to make sure deliverability is at the top with their keeping their servers warm. We can get more into that technical stuff later. But then we also add in the direct mail component, and then they add in the BDC component to it as well. So if you're looking for a shot in the arm for a 2-week, 3-week campaign, Insight Live events is definitely the way to go. Matchbacks ROI down to the name, phone number, you name it. It's a great resource if you are looking for a solution to help you make your month.
Great. Thank you very much, Ryan. Absolutely. And a quick shout out to our music producer, Jay, back up in North Carolina as well. We appreciate all the production support there as well. So with that, first segment is our mission launch and field report. And we've been spending a lot of time on the first couple episodes where that we talk about some of the challenges facing dealerships out there today, namely new customer acquisition, defection prevention, and then missed opportunity re-engagement. And this kind of leads into what I wanted to, and what Ken and Ryan also wanted to talk about today, because we don't go on for hours with this. We bring you some real hard-hitting assistance with real challenges and give you some real takeaways and actionable items that we know that are working out there, not only in the dealerships where we're partners, but also with our other dealership clients out there. And that has to do with, this is an interesting take. So stop what you're doing and listen up for just a little bit, because having been in the desk or on the desk in dealerships and at the upper management level now for over 3 decades, I live and breathe these challenges for all opportunities whenever it comes to trying to get the maximum productivity out of teammates, right? And so, Ken and I were talking about this earlier, and it's a philosophy that is centered around something you may not be thinking, which is play to your strengths rather than your weaknesses. And what does that mean? So I'm not, I'm talking about necessarily anything departmentally specific, because this can apply to a service advisor, parts counter, your team leadership, or with the salespeople and sales managers. But, typically, let's take as an example salespeople. And or BDC staff, either way. And so a lot of times, we as managers, we have a varied level of performance, right, Ken? Whenever it comes to your top players versus your, and I know it's going to sound obvious to everybody, of course, Jeff, but you typically break them down. So where usually, like a typical mindset of a sales manager or GM, where do they usually spend most of their time whenever it comes to the performance ranking among their salespeople?
Yeah, it's interesting because they spend the lion's share of their time with the bottom 20%. We'll call them the C players, and as we know, and we all know this, that 20% of our total employees generate 80% of the results, right? And 80% of our employees are only converting into 20% of the results. And so what ends up happening is, that 20%, it gets overlooked a little bit, I think, because they're doing so well.
I don't need to get with them.
I don't need to get with
them.
Don't
mess with them.
Don't mess with them, right? Yeah. So what do we focus in on in dealerships? We focus in on that churn, and so what happens there, and so we end up investing all of our quality time with the wrong people. And again, I don't say that those people that are at the bottom don't deserve the time of the management, and training and personal development.
It's methodology, though.
And coach, it's methodology, it's process, it's accountability. But oftentimes, hey, set it and forget it. This guy's doing 20 cars a month. You know what? Leave him alone. Don't even worry about it. And literally from doing consulting for so many years, Jeff, I find that those guys who are your top, they kind of almost feel a little slighted. And we use training sometimes. They've converted almost training into some sort of penalty box. Hey, listen, you didn't do this, so I'm going to send you to training. And we're going to fix you, right? But instead, that how we train, the one-on-ones, being able to invest and develop those people. I find it's easier to help a guy doing 20 cars a month to get him to that 25, 27. Than it is to get 5-car Fred, 6-car Sally from, into 10 car deals a month.
100%. Yeah. So let's think about this for a moment. Let me draw in a sports analogy that is way overused, okay?
Okay.
Probably some people view, at least this generation views the greatest golfer of all time, Tiger Woods, right? So he's been asked before, as far as, how could you possibly have gotten any better, Tiger? And fortunately, Ryan and I, this is 25 years ago. We were fortunate enough to be able to watch him practice at Muirfield one time there in Dublin, Ohio. And he goes through the same routine every single time whenever it comes to warming up at the range. He starts off with a sand wedge and he works his way up through his irons, never touches a driver. And it was an amazing thing to see how he would start with the sand wedge, probably 85 yards, going, shooting out toward the first green that's available out there. How consecutively the ball would start to move each time that he swung. Each ball would move a little closer to the hole, right? And then he would go and move up to like an 8-iron, or those guys I don't know how they do it, but they're hitting 8-iron 200 yards or 175, 180, and how all those dialed in. And he didn't really touch a driver during practice rounds. And as you know, there's probably no one around in a history of golf who had a better short game. He is credited as having some of the most miraculous short game shots and putts in the history. And so they asked him, he said, but conversely though, if he sprayed anything from time to time, it was off the tee, right? And he was kind of known for that. I mean, he had an amazing ability because of his iron control to get himself out of those situations. But they asked him, they said, look, Tiger, why don't you spend more time on driving? Why don't you spend more time, trying to get your drives closer, in the fairway? And his response was, I'm not going to spend 80% of my time on that weakness. I'm good at the short game. I'm great at putting. That's where I'm going to spend all of my time. And that's a real head scratcher for us. It goes right into what you're saying, Ken, because and here's an exercise for you out there. This is old school for sure, but definitely still rings true today. For your sales staff, do what is called quartiling. Divide the number of units up among your salespeople, and then segment them into 1, 2, 3, and 4, or A, B, C, and D. And 25% of your salespeople are going to be in D, 25%, and no matter how many salespeople you have, are going to be in quartile C, B, and A. And then, now let's say that the average of quartile D, which is where most people spend their time with, this person needs training, because they're doing 5-6 cars a month.
Correct, yes.
A lot of potential. So Ken, if we did that, and we were able to increase the bottom 25% of our team members. And this can apply to service advisors, this can apply to BDC personnel, and so forth. But if you were to, anywhere where you can measure productivity, so if you were to increase that output of that bottom 25% by 20%, let's say.
Right.
And let's say that collectively that 3 people are in the bottom quartile and they're averaging 5 cars apiece. That's 15 cars, right?
Right.
So if you're going to increase that productivity by 20%, how many more cars do you actually sell?
3 more deals.
Right.
Right.
So that gets you, is that worth all that time? Now, so if you have your top A players, top 25% of them, if you increase their productivity and they're averaging, let's say, 20 cars a month.
Yeah.
Right. And you increase that by 20%. how many more
We're at
cars
12
would
now.
you sell, right?
We're at 12.
So that's what we're talking about, and it's something we usually don't think about, right? Because if somebody's on a draw, then getting into you there, you tend to spend that time. You mentioned actually a great analogy from just a little bit ago on this from Jack Welch at GE.
Yeah, right.
Right now, we're not advocating cleaning house or anything like that, but he had a way. He thought the same way. He had the same type of outlook, and where he really rewarded the people and spent, invested into it. And let me just touch on this before you take off on that. Whenever I talked about methodology a couple of minutes ago, the way that you approach the support for your bottom 25% is different
100%.
than the way that you approach the motivational factors for your top players. Where if you spent the same amount of time with them, even because we're conditioned to think we should leave them alone.
Right.
So. I thought it was great, Jack Welch analogy.
Right. Yeah. Well, but to that point, before I jump, is that I always say to this, and again, I think I may have mentioned it in one of our previous podcasts. I said the most unequal thing you can do is to treat unequal people equally. Now that's kind of a condescending, kind of a weird kind of mindset. But ultimately, everyone's not the same, and the guy who's doing 20, 30 cars a month, you don't treat him the same way as you do someone like a 5 or 6 car a month person, obviously. So, but so I think that has to be looked at. It's not like, hey, you have to treat everybody the same. Hey, this is a meritocracy, right? And so we want to reward the best with the best opportunities, and that takes me down another rabbit hole on up systems and leads and all that, But ultimately, what Jack Welch did, he's considered to be the grandfather of the grandfathers when it comes to CEOs of running, Fortune 500 companies. Most of the guys, the Jack Welch way, you'll find in most Fortune 500, CEOs' offices. And if you haven't read the book, you should go get it. It's an amazing book on leadership. And what he did, which made his company so successful, was that he fired the bottom 10% of all the employees at General Electric every single month. Now, listen, I know you're thinking, well, we have a problem hiring people. Well, again, he's growing. So every Ivy League company, every Ivy League, school is trying to get into General Electric. It's considered to be, an amazing opportunity to work for GE. And the reason is he had like a very flat in terms of leadership profile that he developed. And it didn't matter if you were sweeping the floors or if you were the vice president, of the company. If you had an idea, he had suggestion boxes all over the company, and he took those ideas. He actually formed a committee, and they took all the ideas and they ran through them and they analyzed them. And they figured out, hey, what are the best ideas that will help our company grow? Now, remember, under his tenure, his company grew. The fastest growing company in the history of the United States. Quite amazing.
In fact, their Six Sigma program is mimicked and copied at top corporations all over, where that you have that graduating succession line of performance where you get rewarded for not just performance, but for working on yourself, for getting yourself the training. But they provide the guide rails for all of that, but then you're responsible for doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you want to grow, this is what he said, it doesn't matter where you are. Hey, if you have an idea, I want to hear it. And he didn't have just because you were, sweeping the floor didn't mean you didn't have value. You just had that position. We all are humans. We all have different responsibilities. So anyway, the idea here was that, are we listening? I always tell people when I'm training too, hey, there's nobody in the room that's smarter than all of us in this room, collectively as a collaborative unit. And so, again, so are we listening, and then are we applying the best practices? Because I always say this too. I say the enemy of great is being good. Complacency, is what kills companies from becoming great companies. They never become great because they get stale and they get happy being good. And that's another really good book by Jim Collins, Good to Great, And I think leadership, if we're trying to build and develop our own culture, it's not just something that you can kind of magic wand it away and create it overnight. You have to hire slow. You have to have development of your people. You create a culture through that development. You don't just snap your fingers and we have this culture that's automatically this perfect thing. And I think what happens, Jeff, in this example here, is that people don't have the stick-to-itiveness in a lot of places to follow through, because we're known in this business for flavor of the month or flavor of the day. And, this is a good idea, this week, but next week we're on to something else. But I think oftentimes, back to the Jack Welch thing, is that, are we rewarding our top performers? Are we taking them from good to great? Are we taking our B players from good to excellent? Are we taking our C players from average to good? And are we taking our low players, if they're staying low, are we allowing that type of mediocrity to ensue in the dealership? And if it is, then there's a problem there, obviously, That's my take on that.
There it was, ladies and gentlemen. That was a Moan right there. Mother of all nuggets. That's a Ken-X moment.
Ken-X.
Hopefully you were paying attention. So the takeaway there, in my view, is that you go back, do the quartiling like I mentioned earlier, and that is a gateway toward knowing where the most of your time is going to be invested. That's going to generate the ROI and the better results, more desired results. With your team. Definitely do that. And I'm sure that there are resources online. You can go and find out exactly how to do that, but certainly worth looking at and deploying at your dealership. With a couple of comments on that, Ryan, I'm sure we're touching on a lot of things that you are involved with and experience every day with the large team of Call Team 6 agents who are, we believe, obviously they're trained by the original co-creator of the BDC model, who is our CEO, and also you bring 20 years worth of automobile BDC experience to the company. And how do you see that? What do you think? There are any takeaways from that you could share with other BDC managers in dealerships out there?
Just don't spend too much time where you take away from your top performers. To go back to the very beginning of the conversation, that's one of the cardinal sins. They start feeling neglected. I mean, they will go somewhere. So you need to spend time with them. You need to stick with them, because if they see you giving all their time to someone who they know is not as capable, not as talented, doesn't work as hard, they're just going to go find someone who they perceive as appreciating them and their time and the effort that they're putting in. So something I learned, and it took me a little while to be able to just identify that I was even doing it. Which I think maybe just comes with time, but the more self-aware you are of it as a BDC manager out there, make sure you're routinely spending 5 to 10 minutes, even if that's all you got, with your top performers. How you doing? Is there anything I can do to help you out? How can I make you better? How can I get you from, 150 appointments this month to 175? If I could take away one thing out of your day that would help you get there, what would it be? Little things like that with your top performers is how you get that extra 10, 15% that Ken was talking about at the beginning of this. So from a BDC point of view, that's kind of my take and my 2 cents on that part. Just carve it out, put it in your calendar, whatever it is, 10, 15 minutes, your top performers, one-on-one. How you doing? If there's one thing I could change to help increase your production, what would it be?
That's a really good point.
And find out.
Yeah.
They'll tell you.
So let me ask you this then, Ryan, because as sales managers on the sales floor and, in sales management in general, one of the best practices that we're taught is to make the time for one-on-ones with your salespeople. And if for no other reason other than you're going to be able to make some emotional deposits into the team members. How's their family doing? Make sure you are familiar with their family and their personal lives. Because if the first thing out of your mouth, then whenever you greet them in a particular day, is how many cars you got out.
Right.
That's not exactly. That was how it was when I came out 30 years ago. Whereas management by intimidation, but doesn't really work anymore. So Ken is master of emotional deposits, and I'm going to be candid. Is probably 20 years ago. I went through his training and didn't even know I was getting it from him.
Funny thing.
And it's stuck with me all this time. We talk about taking phone ups all the time, and I still remember the entire freaking script.
Yeah.
That's how much it was ingrained into me. And so, Ryan, how many BDC managers out there in the dealerships do you think are doing one-on-ones with their BDC team members?
I don't know the percentage, but I talk to a lot of them, and it's I don't think it's enough. If I can phrase it that way, I couldn't quantify it accurately, but a lot of our models, probably 50 to 60% of our accounts, have some kind of hybrid set up, and typically those one-on-ones are reserved for the problem children, if I can say that, because they're trying to plug the holes to the dam, rather than building a stronger wall. So sometimes that's again what I see. I can't quantify it, but it's definitely too much.
Yeah.
And so, when we're on some of our strategy calls, discovery calls, et cetera, review calls, we do try to bring that up, in as polite a manner as possible. Hey, here's who we see as being, the top performers. Let's see what we can do to strengthen their position, and see how we can kind of leverage them. Because, again, at the end of the day, you bring them in, you want them to participate more. They're going to get more excited, and they're going to work harder.
Yeah.
And so you get little boost out of them too.
Yeah, I think one of the things we try to do is, and it sounds a little strange, but to your point, both of you, I think we talk about making those emotional deposits in showing that you care about the people, and we talk about the why mindset and what motivates a person. And instead of giving them a kick in the pants every, hey, where are you at? What are you doing? What have you done for me lately? I think you go back to the concepts of investing, slowing down to speeding up. Ask the questions that really matter. One of the things that I do when we first sit down with someone and ask them, hey, this has nothing to do with the car business, got nothing to do with selling cars or setting appointments, but truly talk to me about you. What's important to you? Why are you even here? And then when someone begins to tell you like their dreams, ambitions, what they're focusing in on, I want to send my kids to college. I'm trying to save up some money to buy a house or whatever the case is.
I want a boat.
I want a boat. I want to go to Italy.
35 years, I want a boat.
Get yourself one of them boats, Jeff.
As they say, a boat just stands to break out another 1,000. It's probably good that I never ended up with one.
That's so true.
Well, they say that the best two moments in regards to a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Those are your two favorite moments when owning a boat.
Yeah, I mean, just walk right over here down to the Del Rey here, and you got all these beautiful yachts sitting down here, right?
Brother.
Amazing, isn't it? But no, I think once you understand, it's about personality and connecting the dots, people will run through walls for you. But if you make your business all about, vanilla, coming to work is like breaking rocks or doing the laundry, wash, rinse, repeat, no. This is a tool for them to maximize their opportunities. That's how you get the best out of your best and pushing it forward. Anyway, that's a whole different topic, but I think that to me is the single one thing that I've done over my career that have changed more lives and helped people grow by just getting them to identify, become consciously aware of their personal why, and then leveraging it to their activities at the dealership. Whatever that is, that's taking you from good to great because now they have a reason to, not just your reasons, but their own personal reasons, and that's how you leverage people to become great.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys, sincerely. And so the takeaways there are, and may I mention, whenever it comes to your top performers and taking them for granted, that's a definite no-no, whether it's the BDC or service advisors or sales and management, is because it is a true human tenet that people, 95%, Zig Ziglar actually coined the phrase, 95% of people go to bed each night starving for recognition. There's a little bit of that goes a long way. So that's a great point, Ryan. Never neglect your top performers. Always let them know, how much they're appreciated. So that's the takeaway I get. And then also, so we've got that. And then also with as we wrap up the mission launch and field report, with that, play to your strengths. Learn to do that rather than your weaknesses. Spend more time on your strengths than your strong people. And go through the exercise of quartiling. If you want to know more about that, we've got information on how to do that specifically that we can provide. Just send us an email at intel@callteam6.com to know more about that. Really great stuff, Ryan and Ken. Thank you. So next up, as we continue to move along here quickly, as we try to keep this concise, is our tactical tips section. And today's tactical tip, I actually volunteered to take. In case anyone watched some of our social media clips. The first one, and I want to bring Ryan in for some quick explanation on this because it's a good takeaway for dealers watching out there right now. You can employ right on your own with your own teams right now. And that is that a lot of the feedbacks that we're getting with a lot of the challenges right now from our dealer clients out there and other dealers in general is that they're experiencing lower call connection rates, lower connection rates overall, in fact. And some of that has to do with maybe the timing. There's always a certain amount of pent-up demand out there, and this, that is fairly constant, but it kind of fluctuates a little more like a heartbeat with regard to non-pent-up demand, where, like right now, I think we could be going through that. So, I'll refer to Ryan for more of the data on what the average call connection rate is now, but we've kind of come up with a way that has effectively increased it for our dealer clients, and not necessarily need us to do that, but you can do it yourself. And that has to do with a really nifty feature that actually we designed and we came up with on our own, that we're deploying now, and we're seeing good results for our dealer clients, and that is a pre-call text. And Ryan, let us know a little bit more about what to expect there, and how that actually improves the customer experience right from the get-go, and how it also improves the overall connection rate based on the premise.
Yeah, and we focus. Obviously, we try and do everything we can on our side operationally to get customers on the phone, to have an educated conversation with them, be able to answer their questions in real time with no delay. But we are at heart a text first BDC. So in an effort to be able to increase that phone connect rate, we actually initially send out a text now that says, "Hey, this is Ryan from Call Team 6 Motors." We'll say, podcast junkies autos. And I'm going to be calling you and I'm going to call you here shortly in about 10 minutes. So from this number, so when you get a call from this number, you pick up. Right? Don't dismiss it. So we have a couple important things that I want to let you know about. So we preempt the customer from the number we're going to be dialing from. That says, "Hey, this is ABC Motors. We're going to be calling you here in just a few moments. So from this number, so with important information, so pick up." And if you're not going to be ready here in the next few minutes, 10 minutes, just shoot me a text back to let me know, answer your questions here, or we can schedule a different time to talk. So what that does, though, is not only is that inherently increasing the phone connect rate. As of right now, it's about 12 points higher, which is substantial. But you're getting more text back saying, "Hey, no, I'm not at work right now, or no, I'm driving," or whatever the text is. But so you're going to get an answer either way. Yes, yeah, you can call me. I'm prepared. Or no, you can't call me. Here's why, but here's what you can do for me via text. And so we're seeing a substantial uptick with that. We're excited about it. Again, only about 25, 28 days into this, so it is new. But the results right now are promising. Just with that one little simple text, modification, if you will, to how we communicate with customers and set expectations, because ultimately that's what we do, right? We talk to them, we set the expectations. As long as those are met, you have happy people. So that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, and I think the psychology behind it, I always go back to the, be NLP, or, what the question behind the question is. You're pre-framing the future call, and you're setting an expectation that they're looking forward to. I always tell people don't submit leads because they just want to set an appointment. They got questions. They want to know interest rates. They want to know trade allowances. They have these things that they want answered. If you set that up in a pre-framed version of the future call, they're much more likely to pick it up and actually, have a intelligent conversation. And the math is showing that is the case in this case.
Well, I know whenever I see a phone number like out of the blue, that I don't necessarily recognize. This has got to be true for 90% of the people out there. If it's like 3 days since I submitted a lead somewhere, I could have very well forgotten, because I submit leads to 4 or 5 dealerships at once. If I know what I want, I'm going to, if I want a new Chevrolet, I'm going, I know what I want, an Equinox, I'm going to put out feelers out there to everybody. I'm going to see who comes back with the best offer, or if they have the vehicle, and who's going to give me the best experience. Yeah. So I'm answering that, and I'm thinking, please don't be a sales call. Please don't try to sell me something.
Right. Yeah.
So that deflates the whole situation. It does everything you guys just mentioned, plus it deflates, the expectation, so they're more likely to take the call. And secondly, as our agents are doing their jobs, what we want to try to do is to elevate our status with the customer as well. Yeah. It helps to set the expectation too. Hey, I'm taking my time to reach out to you and setting this time aside for us to have a useful conversation because you reached out to us. I'm giving you a heads up. I'm going to be calling. Be ready.
Yeah.
And and the customer sees it as a courtesy. So dealers out there, I'm sharing with you. It does make a difference, and you're spending a lot of money just the same way Ken and I do, and Ryan does as partners in dealerships as well. More to come on that on the next episode with some exciting news, by the way. And so. That is something that you can do today. So you have 3 good takeaways from today's episode, and that has taken up our entire half hour actually now,
Right.
plus a few minutes. So, look, that this has been very energetic. It's been very useful and impactful in my view.
Yes.
And Ryan, really, appreciate all of your insight as well as we start to put a pin in. Episode 3, Charlie, of the Mission Debrief here.
Right.
So, hey, listen, a quick shout out again to our sponsors, Insight Live, Events Company, and also Podcast Junkies. And big shout out to Ben, our producer here, and our engineer, Daniel. So we're going to go ahead and get back to what we do.
Yes.
Now, we hope that you enjoyed this. And like I said, we've been getting a lot of positive feedback, and we really appreciate the opportunity to share this information with you. And hopefully you come away with some great things from it. And also a special shout out to Jay, our music in and outro producer back up in North Carolina as well. And we look forward to seeing everybody next time on the next episode of the Mission Debrief from Call Team 6, Special Ops for Car Dealers. Everybody, happy hunting out there. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you real soon.